Imagine being able to pick any skill, ask ChatGPT for the perfect way to learn it, and then master that skill 5 times faster than everybody else. This kind of superpower might sound like fiction, but after watching pretty much every single video about ChatGPT I could find, I actually found something. A 5-step system for ChatGPT that you can use to learn anything you want a lot faster. And the very first step of the system really surprised me when I first came across it. Because imagine you just open ChatGPT and type something like, how do I get to South Africa? Or something else that's pretty common by typing something like, you're the expert in traveling or the cheapest to get anywhere in the world, how do I get to South Africa? Which probably directly raises one main concern in your head, namely,
well, that depends on where you're traveling from.
However, that's exactly how I used to, and most people I know still seem to use ChatGPT. Simply asking it any question without giving any extra context, even though it would be way smarter to use it more like Google Maps and first mention where you are, where you want to go, and how you want to get there. Or in other words, your current skill level, your goals, and your constraints. A step that is known as priming that can help to give you way better answers a lot faster, that you can either use by setting up all the information about who you are beforehand under the tab of custom instructions, or simply by giving a bit of extra context before asking it any question. For instance, I'm a beginner photographer who knows how to film videos but has absolutely no clue about taking pictures and who wants to learn photography in only 7 days. Like, I now have to. I have a problem. I was invited to give a presentation skills training in South Africa, which is a place that I always wanted to visit and take some professional pictures while going on a safari. Which, however, is also one of the skills that I never seem to find the time to develop. And as the training is just a few days away and I still need to prepare, it means the only real chance I have to still learn photography is during the 7-day safari that I booked. Which means it's also the perfect opportunity to test how good this 5-step system for ChatGPT actually is. Now, the second step, luckily, is a lot more straightforward than the first. Because here we can make use of the vast amount of data that ChatGPT has consumed and use it to gather any information that might be valuable. What are the 3 most important concepts that will give me 80% of the results? What are the 5 main mistakes that I'm likely to make? Can you explain me the key concepts in a way that a 10-year-old could understand them? Basically anything that might be valuable for us, and then we can already move to step number 3 and ask it to give us a learning plan that incorporates the insights we gathered from step number 2, as well as our unique situation from step number 1. Which means that now it's finally the time to fly to South Africa. Now, in the previous step of the learning plan, ChatGPT mentioned to just start by understanding exposure. So the night before the safari, I watched some introductory videos on YouTube, inspected the lens that I've never even used before, as I only rented it for this trip, and right before the safari, also looked at the work of some other photographers to get some inspiration. And on the way to the national park, even though my camera skills were still pretty basic, I was at least certain that I would be able to make, somewhat decent pictures. But once we spotted the first animals, I encountered the first unexpected problem. Namely, that the zoom lens I rented was a lot more different than my normal lens than I thought, and with all the bushes in the way, I just didn't seem to get a picture that was focused. Which created a bit of skepticism that, however, quickly subsided once we spotted the first of the big 5, an elephant. Now, in case you never heard of the term Big 5, it's kind of like a 5-star rating system of how good your safari was, depending on how many of the Big 5 you spotted. Elephants, water buffaloes, lions, rhinos, and leopards. So if you saw 4 of the Big 5, you had an incredible safari, and if you saw all 5, you had an exceptional one. So I guess you can imagine my disappointment when we spotted the second of the Big 5, a water buffalo, and all of my pictures looked like this. Or like that. So right after returning home, I opened my PC and asked ChatGPT for a solution to the issue, which mentioned to try a custom button layout for my camera. Not even Michael, who also joined the safari and was a passionate photographer, has ever heard about. And once we headed out the next day for an early morning safari with a beautiful sunrise, the tip from ChatGPT actually helped, which directly paid off once we spotted the next animal, where getting a focused picture was crucial.
Oh, a lion!
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
How cool. Where is it? Oh, there's one on the street also, huh?
See the one in the road? running here.
Yeah.
Now, next to me wanting to nail the focus, for the second day, ChatGPT also told me to practice taking shots with various different compositions and framings. So I attempted to capture the animals we saw in more interesting ways, with mixed results. And during our lunch breaks, by even laying down on the floor to take some pictures of a couple of birds from a different perspective, which resulted in one of my favorite pictures I made on this trip. However, as the next day we headed away from the national park and drove to some panorama spots of a canyon, the learning plan from ChatGPT didn't really apply anymore, which means that now it's the time to fall back to step number 4 of the system. Now, if you think about the typical storyline, there often is a hero, such as Harry Potter, Frodo or Simba, and a mentor that guides the way, such as Dumbledore, Gandalf or Rafiki. But we can use ChatGPT exactly the same way whenever we are stuck or in a unique situation. Such as when we headed to a night safari and I beforehand asked ChatGPT as my photography mentor for the best possible settings, which resulted in some pictures that look like this. And as a little bonus tip, always using the edit button to the side to make sure that everything is a lot more organized and to also ensure that everything we ask here always relates back to the step of priming. Now, for the final day of the safari, we convinced our guide to drive a bit more off-road out of the hope to still spot some rhinos or leopards, where I started to become really comfortable with my camera. And sure, there's certainly still a lot to learn about photography and there's way better pictures out there, but looking back, I was really proud of my progress and the pictures I have taken. Which means that I was able to complete the 5th step of the system and can officially confirm that this system truly helped me to learn the skill of photography a lot faster. And after some time in a little hut where you could photograph some animals swimming in a lake, we even were able to find the 4th of the big 5, 2 rhinos laying in the bushes. To be fair, we couldn't really see them that well, but you know, we'll take it. And even though we didn't spot any leopards, I still had an incredible time in the safari and most importantly was able to move one of the skills from want to learn to having learned. And if you're curious to learn a couple more insights on how to learn any skill faster, then you can watch this video next, where I learned Italian in only 50 days to surprise my Italian girlfriend for her birthday. Thank you for watching.